Welcome to another ASC CPC training video. This video is the first in the Recipe Programming series. In this tutorial, we'll cover recipe overview, specifications, creating a recipe, and recipe information. From the main screen, click on the Recipe Screen button. The recipe screen is divided into three sections. The first section in the upper right is the virtual directory. This section is initially divided into two folders. The first folder is the Equipment folder. This folder shows which recipe is currently selected for the run. The next section below is the Tree View section that shows the virtual directory of recipes and recipe folders. This is where all the recipes are stored and created. In order to view or edit a recipe, simply click the recipe in the Tree View. The next section in the upper left is the information for the selected recipe. This information shows the details of the current recipe selected for editing. The final section is the recipe itself. This is arranged in a familiar spreadsheet style. On the left, you will see the rows containing individual parameters. Each one of these parameters represents an individual control or alarm point. At the top of this section, you can see the segments. Each one of these segments represents steps in the process. This allows fully automated cure cycles to be programmed into CPC utilizing this system. In this series, you will walk through the process of creating a recipe. Since you'll be writing this based on your own specification, this video will cover a typical composite cure cycle. Create a new recipe by selecting the Recipes folder in the Virtual Directory section, and then clicking the New Recipe button in the upper right corner of the screen. You'll see the new recipe has been created and automatically inserted into the parent folder. Next, fill out the information for the recipe. In the upper left of the screen, change the recipe line by creating a name for the new recipe. The file path will change to reflect this name next time you click on the recipe in the virtual directory. Entering a recipe description and/or specification is optional. Equipment is for a system that has multiple CPC instances. If your system has multiple CPC instances, you will need to specify what recipe is for what piece of equipment. This only applies if you want the recipe to be used only on one specific piece of equipment. As an example, the test recipe shown here, Test 2, is configured to run on an oven. Since the equipment is listed as oven, and this equipment is called Autoclave, a red X is shown through the recipe indicating it cannot be run on this equipment. Revision is automatically configured if the recipe is revised. This will be covered in more detail later in this series. Last run is automatically filled out when a recipe is run. Author and comments are optional. QC card is utilized to link recipes to specific quality cards. This will be covered in more detail in a later video. Disallow run removes the ability to run that recipe if true is entered. That concludes this tutorial. In the next tutorial in the Recipe Programming series, we'll be covering segments, set points, enables, watch groups, and segment messages. Thank you for watching.